You made that heartfelt dua. You sincerely asked Allah to guide you, to remove anything not meant for your life. You whispered in the stillness of the night, your voice cracked with tears. Ya Allah, if they're not written for me, take them out of my heart. Yet, they're still there. They show up in your thoughts at Fajr. Their image visits you in dreams without warning. Sometimes, even during Tahajjud, when you're alone with your Lord. The weight returns, not as a vision, not as words, but as that familiar heaviness in your chest that refuses to go. And now you're wondering, is this a sign? Could this be Allah telling me something through my heart? But this is where things become risky. Because not every strong emotion is sacred. Not every lingering attachment is divine. Sometimes, your desires dress themselves in the language of piety. Sometimes, Shaytan whispers to you through what seems soft and beautiful. Sometimes the heart holds on, not because it's being divinely directed, but because you've made that person your emotional qibla. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If you came here searching for a video or message to soothe your feelings and confirm what your heart already wants, this may not be it. But if you've ever found yourself torn between hope and delusion, sincerity and self-deception, then stay. Because what you're feeling right now might not be divine love. It might be a test you've mistaken for destiny. Believe me, I know what it feels like. You've tried to do everything right. You made dua from a place of truth. You prayed istikhara. You begged Allah. If this person isn't for me, remove them from my life and my heart. But every time you think you've moved on, there they are again, in your thoughts, your dreams, your emotions. Their presence feels so intense, so constant, that you start to wonder, how can this not mean something? But here's what few people talk about. Your heart is not automatically trustworthy. It doesn't always reflect the truth. It is a place of conflict, torn between divine will and personal desires, between clarity and illusion, between true spiritual insight and the subtle whispers of Shaytan dressed as sincerity. Don't forget, Shaytan doesn't always appear with threats or sins. Sometimes, his whispers come through feelings that feel righteous, comforting, even spiritual. And because they feel so right, we don't question them. But Allah warns us in the Quran, have you seen the one who takes his own desire as his God? Surah Al-Jathiyah 45:23. Ask yourself, have I made my emotions my compass, even when they conflict with Allah's clear guidance? Just because a feeling is strong, even genuine, doesn't mean it's correct. The heart is like a mirror. If it's clean, it reflects truth. But if it's clouded by loneliness, trauma, past sins, or intense attachment, it shows a distorted reality. What you're calling a sign might just be a reflection of what you want to see. That's why Allah didn't leave us to navigate by emotions alone. He gave us His book. He gave us boundaries. He sent the Prophet to teach us. He gave us clarity and reason so that we wouldn't be left misled by a heart-chasing comfort. Your heart isn't the evidence. It's the battleground. And it's because it's so vulnerable that we must reconnect it daily to the one who purifies hearts. Before you follow your feelings, ask yourself sincerely, is this really from Allah? Or am I just trying to justify what I already want? Let's be honest. When you want something deeply, every coincidence feels like confirmation. You see their name often. Their post appears just when you're thinking of them. You have vivid dreams. You start thinking, this must be divine. But pause for a moment. Are you recognizing all the signs, or only the ones that match what you desire? You remember the sweet dream, but ignore how their actions distance you from Allah. You notice the perfectly timed text, but not the red flags in their character or lifestyle. You cling to a feeling while ignoring the disconnection from your Deen. Real signs from Allah never contradict His commands. Yet you convince yourself they'll change. You say, maybe Allah wants me to help them get closer to Islam. But again, who is helping whom? Be honest. Are they leading you closer to Allah, or gradually pulling you away? The Prophet gave us clear guidance. If someone comes to you with pleasing religion and character, accept their proposal. If not, there will be trials and widespread corruption. Tirmidhi. Did he say, follow your dreams, or wait for a sign in your notifications? He said, Deen and character. Yet many trade away Deen for comfort and vague signs. They ignore the red flags. They silence the whispers of their conscience. They hold on to their emotional craving while overlooking the clear warning signs from Allah. Understand this. When Allah is guiding your heart toward someone, the journey will never require you to compromise your faith. It will never require you to rationalize sin. It won't feel like a tug of war between your soul and your desires. Instead, it will feel aligned with His words, with your values, with clarity. So before you declare something to be a divine sign, reflect honestly. Are you seeing the truth, or choosing only the parts that feel good? Because often, the real sign isn't in a dream. It's in the reality staring you in the face and begging you to wake up before it's too late. And yes, I know, it hurts, especially when your heart is already deeply invested. But healing begins with honesty. Certainly, below is a rewritten version of your text in new wording, keeping the original meaning, emotional depth, and approximate length the same. The structure flows naturally, and the core message remains clear and strong. When something isn't right, your heart often holds on harder, clinging to small coincidences and subtle moments, hoping they're signs from Allah. You tell yourself that because your feelings are genuine, they must mean something. But the reality is, sincerity by itself doesn't confirm that something is correct. True signs from Allah always align with Islam. They won't make you compromise your values. They won't push you into spiritual confusion or leave you feeling empty after every interaction. They don't keep you up at night, wondering if you're harming your connection with Allah just to keep someone else in your life. And if we're honest, deep down, you already feel when something's off. You sense it when you tiptoe the line between what's halal and haram, justifying it all because your emotions are strong. You've likely even had the thought, if this is really from Allah, then why do I feel so spiritually drained, so uneasy? Allah addresses exactly this kind of struggle in the Quran. And whoever is mindful of Allah, He will make a way out for them and provide for them from where they never expected. Surah At-Talaq 65, 2-3. Think about what that truly means. When you place Allah first, when your choices honor your faith rather than your desires, He promises ease, clarity, relief. So reflect sincerely. Is this situation bringing you peace or confusion? Is it helping your connection with Allah grow? Or is it pulling you further into emotional chaos? Because if something is truly written for you by Allah, it shouldn't feel like a spiritual burden. It shouldn't drain your soul after every message or conversation. Real, divinely guided love doesn't require you to sacrifice your dignity, your principles, or your serenity. The Prophet reminded us with beautiful clarity, Whoever gives up something for the sake of Allah, Allah will replace it with something better. So ask yourself, if you had to choose right now between pleasing Allah or pleasing this person, which would win? Because if your answer isn't Allah, that's not a sign. That's a red flag. Real signs aren't meant to just validate your desires. They exist to align you with your purpose. And your purpose is always more sacred, more meaningful than one person's temporary presence in your life. Let's talk about something many people quietly go through, especially in college or university life. Emotional attachments that form quietly, unintentionally, between lectures, study groups, or late-night texts. You meet someone, maybe through a friend, maybe a project, and suddenly, something feels different. At first, it's harmless. You notice how they talk, how they laugh, how they carry themselves. Your heart skips a beat every time they walk in. You convince yourself it's nothing serious. You're not doing anything wrong. But then it grows. They start occupying your thoughts more and more. You find yourself checking their profile, replaying conversations, feeling anxious when they're not around. Suddenly, you're emotionally attached, and you're hoping they feel the same. Here's the dangerous part. You start thinking maybe it's from Allah. You say things like, Allah put these feelings in my heart for a reason. Or, they keep showing up in my life. Surely that means something. But what's really happening is this. You're mistaking emotional urgency for spiritual direction. Your heart is overwhelmed, not because this person is your destiny, but because you're emotionally invested, intensely and deeply. You've turned a passing attraction into an obsession, cloaked in religious terms like soulmate and divine timing. But Allah offers a powerful reminder in the Quran. Perhaps you hate a thing that is good for you and love a thing that is bad for you. Allah knows, and you do not. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. So reflect sincerely. If this was really spiritual, wouldn't it strengthen your faith? Wouldn't it draw you closer to Allah, not distract you from your prayers? Wouldn't it feel dignified and pure instead of emotionally exhausting and confusing? True guidance from Allah doesn't hide behind emotional chaos. It arrives with calm, with certainty, with peace. More often than not, what feels urgent is just your loneliness speaking, your insecurity, your desire to be seen, wanted, loved. These are the exact emotions Shaytan loves to manipulate, especially in sincere Muslims trying to stay on the right path. The Prophet said it beautifully. Being thoughtful and deliberate is from Allah, while haste is from Shaytan. That rush you feel, the impulse to define everything quickly, to label strong emotions as divine, is exactly how Shaytan clouds hearts and confuses judgment. So next time your heart races, pause. Ask yourself honestly, is this really a sign? Or is it your loneliness shouting louder than Allah's voice in your life? Because if it's truly written for you, it won't require secrecy. It won't leave you questioning your own values. It won't rob you of your peace. Instead, it will unfold naturally, without obsession, without guilt, without the constant need to explain things to your own conscience. And here's a raw truth, something you've probably thought, but never said out loud. If this is truly from Allah, why do I feel like I have to hide it? Why do you feel guilty after talking to them? Why do you feel the need to explain yourself every time someone asks about it? You tell yourself, we're not doing anything haram. It's just messages. It's innocent. But deep down, you feel the shift. You notice your focus in salah slipping, You feel distant from the Quran. You start struggling with basic acts of worship. Your spiritual rhythm is off, and you know why. When something truly brings you closer to Allah, it doesn't numb your heart. It revives it. Here's the unfiltered truth. Anything truly from Allah will never require sin, secrecy, or the sacrifice of your values. A relationship that is guided by Allah doesn't live in the dark. It doesn't force you to hide your conversations from your family, delete messages in fear, or excuse little sins as harmless. If you constantly find yourself afraid of being found out, if you're always explaining away half-truths, if your heart feels spiritually heavy from this connection, then you already have your answer. This isn't guidance. It's a trap. And deep down, you walked into it willingly. Pause and reflect. Why would Allah guide you towards someone who takes you further from Him? Why would something meant to be pure have guilt and secrecy as its foundation? Allah says clearly in the Quran, "Good women are for good men, and good men are for good women." Surah An-Nur 24:26. Notice what Allah didn't say. He didn't say secret relationships are rewarded. He didn't say haram beginnings lead to halal blessings. Goodness aligns with goodness. So ask yourself honestly, can something that began with confusion, secrecy, and spiritual unrest ever lead to true barakah? In today's culture, especially in schools or universities, these quiet, emotional attachments are normalized. Your friends might even support it, calling it harmless or part of figuring things out. But when you're alone, when you turn inward, you feel the truth. You feel the discomfort, because love, real love, never damages your faith. It doesn't make you feel ashamed or distant from Allah. It doesn't leave you with regret, guilt, or anxiety. If being connected to someone makes you feel spiritually weak, that's not love. That's attachment. That's desire disguised as destiny. The Prophet gave us timeless advice. Leave what makes you doubt for what gives you certainty. Think deeply about that. If this relationship always leaves you confused, if it fills you with guilt and questions your connection with Allah, then you already know the answer. Allah will never guide you to something that darkens your soul. His path is always clear, always dignified, always filled with peace. And now, ask yourself this. How many times have you told yourself, but it feels right, or it's too intense to be wrong? But then, why does it keep pulling you away from your salah? Why does it distract you from your Quran? Why does it make your worship feel heavy? Something from Allah will always lift your spirituality. It will soften your heart in prayer. It will bring you closer to Him, not pull you further away. It won't require you to keep apologizing for crossing lines you promised not to. Let's be real. If Allah truly meant for someone to be in your life, you wouldn't have to betray yourself just to keep them. You wouldn't be losing sleep, crying out of guilt, or constantly trying to justify what you know is wrong. Yes, Allah is merciful and forgiving. But He is also clear in His commands. Live with honor. Stay within His boundaries. Guard your dignity. So if your heart is tired, if your soul feels caged, if you feel like you're losing yourself trying to keep someone, then don't call that love. Call it what it really is. Emotional dependence, an attachment, a test. And if the idea of letting go terrifies you, maybe that's your clearest sign. Because the hardest things to release are often the exact things you must walk away from. Real love, love that's written by Allah, won't leave you numb inside. It won't force you to hide. It won't demand your peace in exchange for a promise. So before you convince yourself again that this is a sign, stop and ask, would Allah really lead you into something He clearly told you to avoid? The answer isn't hidden. It's right in front of you. And though it might hurt now, accepting that truth is the beginning of your healing. Yes, this may feel overwhelming. It may even break your heart, because maybe deep down, you knew everything said here, but you weren't ready to let go of the comfort. But hear this. Facing the truth now, even if it hurts, is far better than spending years in a lie you've named love. Allah never takes something away without planning to replace it with something better. It may not feel that way at first. You may feel lost. You may feel empty. But Allah sees the whole picture. He hears what you don't. He knows what you can't. He understands the nature of hearts, yours and theirs. So even if your heart is heavy today, even if walking away feels impossible, know that when Allah closes a door, it's out of mercy, not cruelty. It's protection, not punishment. And He reminds us so beautifully in the Quran. Perhaps you hate something that is good for you and love something that is bad for you. Allah knows and you do not know. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. So trust His wisdom more than your wants. Trust His mercy more than your emotions. Allah isn't trying to break your heart. He's trying to save your soul. And don't forget what the Prophet promised. Whoever leaves something for the sake of Allah, He will replace it with something better. That's not just a comforting quote. That's a divine promise. Maybe you lost someone you thought was your everything. Maybe the pain still lingers. But just imagine, what must Allah have in store for you? If He asked you to give up something your heart was so attached to? So today, make a choice. Trust His wisdom, even if your heart is lagging behind. Place your hope in His plan, even when you don't fully understand it. Let's end this together with a simple but powerful dua. Say it with full sincerity. Ya Allah, replace what I lost with something better than I ever imagined. Comment it below, not just for yourself, but to help someone else hold on to hope. Like, share, subscribe, because someone out there might desperately need this reminder today. Helping a broken heart heal is a kind of worship too. Jazakumallahu khairan for letting me speak to your heart today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.